Ciao amigos, it's Jamie from the True Bravado and welcome to Cuba. About that. Ciao amigos, it is Jamie from the True Bravado and obviously I'm not in Cuba, but there's a really interesting story that goes along with it. First of all, let me show you where I am because it's gorgeous and snowy. I am back in the Dolomites in northern Italy. It's a snowy day today. And now I'm going to tell you the story of Cuba. So, I got there from Mexico and I was really excited. Everything was going well. I had all of the papers from the, how do you call it? Aduanas, customs. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I had all of the customs papers filled out and I was ready to go. Got on the flight from Cancun to Havana. It was just an hour flight. And once I got there, still everything under control. I went to the ATMs down at the airport downstairs, and normally I always just take out money from the ATMs once I get to whatever country I'm going to. It's really easy. It always works. There's no problems. And then I go about the adventures in that country. And this time it was a little different. So I got to the airport and I tried to take out money from the airport ATMs. And it didn't work. It just said denied. So I thought, okay, it's going to be fine. Don't freak out, right? And then I met a girl from France named Charlotte. And she was super nice, and we decided, you know what, we're going to do the bus because the taxi from the airport is ridiculously expensive. And so we both decided we're going to take the bus. And I had about $1.25 equivalent of Cuban money already that a friend gave me. So I was like, okay, cool, let's do this. And we got on the bus, and that was a crazy adventure because no one really takes the buses there if they're not from Cuba. So we were just the ones that everyone was staring at with our huge backpacks and everything. And then once we got to the city center, we found some ATMs, and of course they're all the same because it's one bank, it's the government bank. So I go up to the ATMs there in Havana, and I tried 2 or 3 of them, and they all said failed, denied. So then I started to get a little worried, like, what's going on? I don't have enough money here to just survive. And she said, it's fine, let's just go to the hostel and figure it out from there. So we get to the hostel, and I told them the situation. It was this Cuban family who made their home into a hostel for tourists because it's like the big business there now, right? And they said, yeah, don't worry about it, just tomorrow morning, because at this point it's like 4 or 5 p.m., tomorrow morning, go to the bank and take out money there. And they gave me directions to the bank. They said, you have to go early, though, because there's always a long line. The next morning, I wake up at 6:30 a.m., and I start going to the bank. And about 7, I find the bank, and it's just this storefront that says Banco on it, which to me was really weird because, in the U.S. or anywhere else, the banks are so huge and beautiful, but this one, no, it's just Banco. So I'm there, and I'm waiting an hour until the bank opens, but I'm third in line, so it's all good. And once I get there and the doors open, I go in to the first cashier lady, or caja, whatever it's called. And I go to the lady and I say, I would like to take out money. And the first thing is that Cuba has 2 different currencies. The first one is the Cuban peso, which is the local currency. And the other one is the cuc. The cuc is the tourist currency. And they do this so that they can charge tourists amount that's pretty normal for them. And the Cuban people can still go about their lives and not have this huge inflation from tourism. And the cuc is, one of them is worth 24 of the Cuban local peso. So there's a difference there. And I was trying just to take out Cook because that way I can have the money for the rest of the trip since this was such a big problem. I tried to take out 300 or I think maybe 400 kooks, and she said, okay, that's a lot of money, but all right, well, give me your ID. So I gave her my bank card and my passport. So she took the ATM card, whatever, and then she took the passport. She opened it up, and she saw that it was an American passport, and that's when she started to laugh. So anxiety went up, like, a little bit more, like, okay, why is she laughing? This isn't good. And she said that this isn't going to work for you here. And that wasn't a really good response to hear in this situation. But I said, look, at this point, I was like, por favor, no tengo nada, por favor. I was begging her, please, I don't have any money. I'm hungry. I need to figure this out. And she said, look, I'll try, but it's going to deny. Like, no U.S. cards work here at all in Cuba. It just doesn't work. So she tried. Of course, it was failed, denied. She showed me the ticket that said failed. And I said, well, what do I do? Like, what do I do now? I don't know. This is the point where I have no idea the solution. And she wrote down an address of a hotel that's some Americans stay at when they come to Cuba. So I said, okay. And another thing you need to know about Cuba, which you probably already know, is that they don't have internet, really. I mean, they do. You can go to the parks, the public parks, and buy a card, an internet card for 1 kook is 1 hour. And, of course, I only had 1 kook left, and I needed to figure out my whole life, so I wasn't really in the headspace to go and buy this internet and search for a solution at this point. So, I'm walking around this city and trying to find an address, and people keep giving me directions, but of course they're like, it's just down here to the right, and then another person's like, no, it's over there. So it was chaos, and I was like, all right, it's going to be fine, And then I was getting super hungry. At this point, it's like 10 a.m. I haven't eaten. Kind of freaking out. So I find the hotel, thank God, after a while, and it's beautiful in the style of a Hilton, but 2 years before the revolution this Hilton was built, and then the revolution, once it took over, they also took over the hotels, so it's now a government run looking like Hilton hotel. So I go in, and on the first floor, there's a buffet on the first floor. And at this point, I mean, everything looks so amazing. In the streets, you'll get, like, bread with cheese, and that's good. So here, there's, like, fruit, a meat selection, assortment of all kinds of different things, cheese and yogurts, and an omelet area where they make omelets however you want. There's coffee, there's tea, there's mimosas. It's like, oh my God. So I go up there. This is like, okay, I can do this. I go up to the people there, and I said, like, hola, ¿cómo estás? And there's all these tourists, like this huge dining hall full of tourists. So they asked me my room number, and I just said 2304 or whatever. And they said, okay, right ahead, miss. And I'm like, did that just work? Did that just work? Oh, my God. So I go in there, and I eat all of the food, all of it. I'm just, like, stuffing myself with the most amazing food. I have a mimosa in my hand. Try to not to be obvious, but I make 2 lunches to go, like some sandwiches and stuff, and I'm packing it in my backpack. And I'm just like, thank God. And then I go downstairs after that, like, kind of run away, and I ask the front desk people about my situation and what I can do, and they told me another address of a place that's near there that supposedly could help. And that's where all of the walking around Havana searching for a solution started. And, you know, this happened, they would say no. With the other place that they told me said no, this isn't working, but there's another place over there. And that happened for like 4 or 5 hours. It was exhausting. And I started to think, okay, the last solution I have here is to go to the U.S. Embassy. It's a very bad situation here. I think Havana is awesome, really cool. People are nice, but it's just not looking good. So here I am at the U.S. Embassy. See what they say. We'll see. So it just so happens that it is Martin Luther King Day, which unfortunately for me means that the embassy is closed. So now I am going to look for a Western Union, but I think the transfer will take 4 or 5 days, and I have literally nothing right now. I have to figure something else out. This is insane. Okay. I was at a loss at this point, so I go back to the hostel where I meet the lovely Charlotte and our new friend Antoine, also from France. Very nice people, so shout out to them. They're awesome. And I told them, look, I still don't know what I'm going to do. And all the positivity and all these things started to turn to I need to figure this out. This is not a good situation. What am I supposed to do? Antoine said, hey, I have an internet card with 20 minutes still on it. You can have it if that helps. So I said, okay, what can I do with 20 minutes of internet that will save my life right now? Think, Jamie, focus. So I get my laptop, I go to the park, and I book the first flight out of Cuba. That's the only solution I could come up with. And once I did that, there was one flight to Miami for $200 and one flight to Milan for $350. Booked the flight to Milan that night at 11 p.m. And this is the worst part, I had to tell the hostel owners, look, I'm really sorry, but I can't pay. And that felt so bad. I hated to do that. I felt really guilty about that. And then I packed my bags and I went to the bus stop and I left. Once I got to the airport, I was just praying, please let there be no airport tax or something extra where I can't get out of Cuba. Please let this work. And it did. There was a red-eye flight for it was only 8.5 hours straight to Milan. And it was just the craziest thing ever. And then the next day, I'm in Verona, which is a lovely place. There's never been a more drastic change in atmosphere than the one I just did in the last 24 hours. Look where I am, in the beautiful, sophisticated, artistic Verona. And 24 hours ago, I was in Havana, Cuba, in the chaos and confusion that came from not having any money at all traveling there. So it's a big difference. And today I'm walking to find a winter coat because it's so cold here and all I have is this sweatshirt. So wish me luck, and what a crazy journey it's been, huh? Ciao. And yeah, that's the story of Cuba. Crazy, right? But on a serious note, it taught me a lot of different things. The first one, I was saying in the last video, how important is it to have unlimited friendliness to yourself in any situation? A lot of people told me, of course American cards don't work. Didn't you think of that? No, I really didn't. I thought that I could take out money. I guess I was reading the European blogs. I don't know. There was nothing on there that said anything. And I'm not that much of a planner when it comes to this type of thing. So the first thing was just being okay with myself and saying I made a mistake. Now how can I get out of this? And the second one, which was the most important, was that I was walking around and kind of a nightmare feeling of like, I don't have a place to stay tonight. I don't have food. What do I do? And this was a tangible feeling of like panic, you know? I've never really felt that much that I don't have a solution and I don't have anywhere to go and I don't know what to do. So, I mean, millions and millions of people feel this every day. So that was a huge lesson for me, and I'm so grateful for this life that I've been given, and I'm grateful for that experience as well to teach me that lesson. And learn from my mistakes. Next time you go to Cuba and you're American, bring money for the trip, and don't forget. And also, don't bring U.S. dollars. If you can, change before to the kooks, or bring euros or something like that, because the U.S. dollar has a terrible exchange rate there at all the money changing places. So that's the tip I have for you. And now I'll be here in the snowy and beautiful Alta Badia in Italy until April. So I'll be sharing more about life in Italy in the upcoming posts and stuff like that. Okay, guys, have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Ciao!